My brother has always been the kind of person who fills a room easily, not loudly in an aggressive way, more like someone who assumes the space belongs to him. Conversations tend to orbit around whatever he decides is worth discussing. Careers, plans. Whose child is doing what next? It was like that again at dinner that night. Our parents' dining table was crowded with plates and the familiar rhythm of family talk. At some point, the conversation turned, as it often does, to the children. My brother leaned back in his chair, comfortable, almost proud of the moment he was creating. My daughter is already planning to go to law school. He said it loudly enough that everyone paused. It wasn't unusual. He'd always admired big, visible ambitions. Then he glanced across the table toward my daughter. Some kids are more ambitious than others. It was said with a small shrug, as if he were just making an observation. Something neutral, harmless. But I'd heard versions of that sentence for years, not direct criticism. Nothing sharp enough to challenge openly. Just a steady suggestion that some paths were impressive, while others were quieter. I smiled the way you do when you decide not to make a moment heavier than it needs to be. Well done, I said, nodding toward my niece. That's a big goal. Then I added, calmly, my daughter just got accepted to a state-funded dental school. I hadn't planned to say it like that. The words just arrived. For a moment, no one spoke. My brother's expression changed in a way that was almost subtle. The confidence he'd been sitting in seemed to pause, like someone realizing they had misjudged the room. He blinked once, then looked toward my daughter. Oh, he said. It wasn't disbelief exactly. More like he was quickly searching for where this new information fit. Dental school didn't match the image he'd already placed in his head. My daughter sat quietly beside me, hands folded near her plate. She had never been someone who announced her progress to people. Most of her work happened in long evenings and quiet mornings I sometimes barely noticed. Years of that. My brother cleared his throat. Well, he said, dentistry is stable. Practical? He spoke carefully now, as if adjusting his footing. Law is more ambitious. You know, it wasn't meant to be cruel. I could hear that, but it was the same pattern, just reshaped. For a moment, I considered letting it pass. But something in me felt strangely calm, not defensive, not angry, just tired of letting small dismissals become permanent truths. The program only takes a small number of students, I said. Most applicants don't get in. I kept my voice steady, almost conversational. And the state funding is tied to academic ranking. I didn't say anything else. Across the table, my uncle, who had spent 30 years working in university administration, looked up. Which program? He asked. I told him. He nodded slowly. That's a very competitive school, he said matter-of-factly. Their dental program is difficult to enter. State-funded spots are limited. The room went quiet again, but in a different way this time. People weren't comparing anymore. They were recalibrating. My brother looked from my uncle to my daughter. Oh, he said again softer. No one challenged him. No one scolded him. The moment didn't become dramatic, but the air had shifted. For the first time in a long while, my daughter wasn't the quiet example of someone with smaller plans. People were asking her questions now. How long the program was, when she would start, what the training involved. She answered politely, a little shyly, no prideful speeches, no victory, just simple facts. I glanced at her once while she was speaking. There was something in her expression I hadn't seen before. Not triumph, relief. As if the years of studying quietly at her desk had finally stepped into the light without her having to push them there. Eventually, the conversation drifted somewhere else. It always does in families. My brother never apologized he didn't need to. He simply stopped making comparisons for the rest of the evening, and that, in its own quiet way, said enough. Later, while we were leaving, I thought about how strange ambition can look from the outside. Some people build it loudly, announcing each step. Others carry it quietly for years, letting the work speak only when it's finished. That night there was no celebration, no speeches, just the quiet, steady feeling that my daughter no longer needed defending.